What's happening, financial coaches? It's Pete here. One of the things that I want to talk about, and I've talked a lot about this in other scenarios, is that it's hard sometimes to teach kids about money specifically because they're not earning or spending money. It's not as hard to teach them about money principles. And what I talk about is more about creation and consumption, not necessarily about the money itself, because money's kind of made up. It's just fiat currency in many cases. But when we talk about putting in things, inputs, and getting things out, our outputs, that makes more sense because kids can take a garbage can out to the road and get a sucker in return. Kids can clean up their bedroom and maybe watch a half an hour of television, whatever it might be. So creation and consumption are concepts I think kids can handle. But money, a lot of times, doesn't really make any sense until they're out in the workforce figuring out what their worth is. Because a lot of times, even allowance or parents paying kids, it doesn't really reflect the market value. If you pay your kid 5 cents to take out the garbage, they're going to say money's really hard to get. If you pay your kid 20 cents or $1 to do it, they might say money's really easy to get, right? And so what it doesn't necessarily do is help them frame money. And one of the examples that I just saw recently is there was a video where someone offered children, toddlers, I don't know, ages 3 to 6 probably, $30,000 in cash, so they had 3 stacks of $10,000 or 2 Oreo cookies. Now, I don't know how much the video was edited, but in all the cases that I saw, every kid took the Oreo cookies. And why did they do that? Because in many cases, these kids have never necessarily used paper cash. They haven't earned that money. And so to see 3 stacks of paper or to hand you a ream of paper and say, would you like this or would you like this carrot cake, right? That might look like an easy decision because you're like, a ream of paper, that's not worth much. It's worth a couple bucks. A carrot cake is worth $15, $17, right? So you might take it. You might even do that math in your head. But for a lot of kids, the cash itself doesn't have a lot of meaning. And it's actually really hard, I have found, to teach kids about the meaning of cash. So the reason I bring this up is because a lot of people come to me and they say, hey, you've got some lessons and some tools to help kids learn about money. But the irony of it is there's very little about money in those lessons and in those resources. Much of it is about inputs and outputs. How much can you expect for how much you put in? And understanding that there's this correlation between having to put in effort before you can do consumption. So that's really kind of what I focus on at a core level. And then I look for specifics to do that, like some of those examples that I talked about. But if you are one of those coaches that are getting requests, hey, can you work with our kids? Can you work with kids in our school, our Sunday school, in our neighborhood? My recommendation to you would be a lot of times, forget about the money, forget about the dollars piece of it, and just kind of talk about the two pieces here that they can really understand their inputs and outputs. So hopefully that helps. I'll see you later.